is more, lots more.
Folks, how we doing? The Kansas City Chiefs escape with another win somehow, some way. It's just another week here in America. But this is the show where it's not wrestling with your budget. It's not wrestling with your conscience. It is wrestling with emotion. And we have a very special prediction show here today because tomorrow is WWE Survivor Series. And I'm going to use the word of William Regal. It's not just any Survivor Series. It's War Games. And I have my own War Games team myself joining me as a panel today. We got Michael Partham, Zach McAdoo making his return to the show, and 716 Ali live from Cancun, if I am correct. Ernie might be joining us shortly. Gentlemen, how we doing? I want to jump in. We always do the favorite thing in wrestling, but I'm just going to go favorite Survivor Series memories because I love doing this one every year. Obviously, Survivor Series, a pillar of the WWE PLEs these days. So we'll start with Partham, go around the horn.
Favorite Survivor Series memories? My memory goes all the way back to, what was it, 94? When, no, it must have been 93 when The Undertaker was the special, substitute member of Team Lex Luger against, what was it, the Foreign Fanatics? Which was really odd at first, but, seeing how his politics usually go these days, I guess it's not surprising that he has an American flag in his cape underneath it. But yeah, that was pretty cool back in the day. Obviously, 97 is what everybody's going to refer to. But the following year, 98, the emergence of The Rock as WWE champion and them, playing back the whole Survivor Series from 1 year earlier was pretty fresh, I would say. That was a pretty epic tournament for the WWE Championship back in 98. They called it the Deadly Game.
Those are two definitely big ones. Joining us now is our surprise fifth member of the War Games team for the match, the one and only, the voice of reason, Ernie Green. Ernie, welcome to the show. We're going over favorite Survivor Series memories, so I'm going to jump to you because you probably got a gold mine to go through as well.
Well, this is way before probably all your times, but definitely if the older generation knows this, is there was 2 years in a row that they had Bad News Brown become a member of a Survivor Series team, and Bad News Brown was like the ultimate loner. And both years, there was a cross-up on the teams, and he walked out, and Jesse Ventura would always be like, why you ask Bad News Brown to be a partner? He's a loner. You never ask a loner to be a part of a team. And it was like that gag for 2 years in a row that was always funny to me. And then in 1990, they had a Survivors match. So all the survivors of the Survivor Series went in one final match. I know it was Tito Santana, Hogan, and Warrior versus Power and Glory, Ted DiBiase. I forgot the two other members, so it was a 3-on-5 elimination. And shockingly, Hogan and the Warrior were the sole survivors. I know that shocks wrestling fans. So those are probably my two favorite memories. I mean, I heard Partham talk about 97. That was crazy because the internet was in its infancy stages. Right now, all of us would go online and be like, what the heck just happened? But there really wasn't. By the way, Ali, nice cigar. But back then there wasn't these wrestling. They were wrestling chat boards, but they were kind of difficult to get to with dial-up internet. So there was still a lot of kayfabe going on in 97. What the heck just happened, which made that incident even more awesome.
Ali, with the cigar, how about you with favorite Survivor Series memory?
I'll tell you what, this Monte Cristo is incredible, but I have an interesting Survivor Series situation just because my family goes on vacation every single year for Survivor Series. So I'm always watching it at an interesting location. And I'm not going to lie, last year was insane because I got kicked out of my room because I was getting way too loud. My sister wasn't having it. So I end up watching Survivor Series in the lobby of the hotel that I'm at. And there's this girl that's sitting next to me. She's an old school wrestling fan, but she doesn't know much about wrestling. So I literally was the meme. I was like, CM Punk might be coming back. He hasn't been here for 10 years. And she's got no idea what I'm talking about. And then, show basically finishes. Trademark comes out.
Yeah, hit the logo and everything.
I was so upset. I'd hyped this moment up to this woman. So I take off my AirPod. And then I just see CM Punk on the Titantron. And I'm getting chills thinking about it right now. I yelled louder than I think I've ever yelled for wrestling. And you guys have been around me when I've been pretty loud. I started jumping for joy. People around me thought I'd won money in some kind of sports bet. I was on top of the moon. And I don't think I'm in the wrestling business for the emotion. And, you know, that's the name of the show right here.
What we do.
And so that's got to be the most emotional I've gotten for a Survivor Series.
Yeah, I was waiting for someone to bring it up. That was obviously so crazy. Crazy to think that was just a year ago now, because it feels like we've had Punk back in WWE for 10 years with the joy run he's going on. McAdoo, what stands out to you from past Survivor Series?
So I'm gonna have two options here, and if you guys allow me. Before my time, before I really got into WWE, I gotta go with the debut of the Elimination Chamber. I mean,
Shawn Michaels,
big one.
That whole like debut, everything just looked amazing. It didn't look like a fucking toy. It looked amazing. But now it looks like absolute garbage, and it ruined the match. But live, I gotta go with probably the debut of Sting, because one, I never thought I'd see it happen. I never thought he'd step foot in WWE, and then sure enough, he saves us from the time being the Authority for 2 months until John Cena let him back in. But I mean, at the time, I thought it was amazing. Sting, until he hurt his back, had a okay run in WWE, but it is what it is.
That was
right
Seth,
up until
right?
WrestleMania. They booked him pretty darn well, being an anti-authority figure and all that.
Well, and that was Seth who injured him, right?
Yeah, I think it was
I
a
believe
buckle
so.
bob went wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that Sting stands out to me as well, just because like I thought it was something that would never happen. I guess it's in a way too. Punk is something I thought would never happen. I'd never thought I'd see him back on WWE programming. But that just speaks to the history of Survivor Series. A lot of crazy shit can happen, and especially when you got two cages smacked together around the rings. But speaking of memorable Survivor Series moments, this is before my time, but just because Maniac's not here doesn't mean I'm not going to do some train wreck trivia brought to you by
Batavia Downs.
Batavia Downs.
Batavia Down is more, lots more.
All right, gentlemen, in 2003 at Survivor Series, we had Team Austin versus Team Bischoff. Team Austin consisted of Shawn Michaels, RVD, Booker T, and the Dudley Boys. Team Bischoff, Randy Orton, Scott Steiner, Mark Henry, and which two other superstars? I will give you a hint. They are both still wrestling today.
In WWE?
Not necessarily.
Ah, okay.
One was Jericho, right?
Yes, sir.
The Big
Oh,
Show too.
Honestly, the only two
Not
people I
the Big
remember
Show.
from
No, so it
Bishop
wasn't
or Jericho
Jericho.
and Orton. So I couldn't tell you the other one.
I think that was a little too soon. Okay.
Jericho.
Like, was it Orton?
No, you said-
Orton. I already mentioned Orton was on that team, but it wasn't him.
Jericho and who else? Because I remember that match.
I was too young.
There was
I
I'm
gotta
just
tell you
trying to think
random
storyline-wise who would make
He's
sense.
a real family man.
Christian.
Yes.
Oh, no way.
Yep.
I almost said Edge and
Christian
Christian when you said you started
Cage
that.
and Jericho, Scott Steiner, Mark Henry, and Randy Orton. What a team Bischoff put together, eh? Kind of crazy.
That was
Anyway,
bullshit that they won.
sorry. What
I
was
liked
that?
Steve Austin as a co-GM.
Yeah, those were interesting times that I was not even watching wrestling yet for, but I can imagine it was very interesting to be watching around that.
McAdoo, I believe to your point, that was when Edge was injured. He was out for like a year. I think he was injured during
With the
that time.
neck
I think
thing?
He came back in 2004 at the draft. Oh,
Yeah, I do remember that actually.
yeah.
All right, well, we're on the edge of our seats right now because we're about to get into predictions here on Wrestling with Emotion. You ready, fellas?
Oh, yeah.
Why
Hey-
don't
Oh, yeah.
we start with a little War Games? The
I would.
women-
You know what? I should have pulled that quip of William Regal. That would have been perfect for this.
I would have, yeah. I mean, you're usually one step ahead with the clips, but not today, I guess. But we'll get around it, I guess.
He's still
We're missing the Prophet, too. The Prophet's on it with the clips.
The Prophet isn't here, so who gives a shit?
Oh,
Prophet likes to
okay.
use the clips that I provide him, by the way. Like I might have said this before, like he's a little toddler in an elevator pushing all the buttons and whatnot.
The Prophet is so overrated. Stop giving him power. Stop just
False prophet.
Yeah, even when he's not here, like he shouldn't be getting shout outs. Now I guarantee the chat is about to go.
You know what? I'm a Prophet fan. I hate to break it to you guys.
So do you believe in the prophet?
I think he's right a good amount of the time, but sometimes he's blowing smoke, you know.
Don't give him that shit.
Yeah.
Come on. His ego's gonna grow, and you guys gonna just fill his head full of lies. It's not good. I mean,
He's
You gotta
only
have
right
your
because he
heels in your
steals our
faces.
takes and accuses us of stealing his metaphysically or however we're supposed to be doing it.
You know, I don't really like you gaslighting the Prophet like that, you know.
That's gaslighting.
All right,
Anyway,
first War Games
yeah.
match we have here, kind of randomly put together squads on the women's side of things. Obviously, tension amongst the teams, but Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, Naomi, Io Sky, and Bayley versus Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez, Nia Jax, Tiffy Time, and Candice LeRae, of all people. Let's start with Ernie. Who we got? What do we expect from this match? And will it live up to the hype?
It will live up to the hype because Io Sky will do something ridiculous, like she does every time there's a War Games match. So I think it will live up to the hype. I think this match is set up for Rhea to kind of get a dominant win. I would not be surprised if Tiffany Stratton attempts to use their Money in the Bank contract after. That's my prediction for tomorrow.
Wow.
But I think Rhea's team wins that.
Okay. Huge. Ali?
I know this match is honestly pretty unpredictable. As Slick had mentioned, it's kind of thrown together, a little rushed, and we're in this for the storylines too. There's a lot of story going on here, and there's multiple stories going on here. So it's really hard to kind of call what exactly I think is going to happen. But based on the fact that I think Rhea does need kind of a show of dominance, I'm going to say that Rhea is going to win. I think there's going to be some funky business with Tiffany, but I don't know if that's when we're going to see the downfall of Nia and Tiffany. I think maybe we might see her try to cash in on someone like Liv. And that would be really interesting. But at the end of the day, I think it's going to be unsuccessful. We had spoken in the chat. I forgot who had said it, but someone said the Rumble seems like a good spot for that to happen. And I'm kind of married to that idea as well. But I'm going to go with the faces here with Rhea.
All right, McAdoo.
I mean, I love that Bayley's coming back for this. She's been gone way too long. Rhea, hopefully she can get that title off of Liv soon, but unfortunately, with the balance that WWE's going to do with this, I think the heels in Liv, Raquel, Nia, Tiffany, and Candice get this one done, and I think that's a precursor to what comes later.
Wow. Okay, going against the grain early. Partham, who you got?
Yeah, there's a lot of dynamics involved in this match. As Ernie mentioned earlier, Tiffany's briefcase is looming large over this, especially because not just, I mean, you don't have just one; you have two champions involved in this match, both on the same team as Tiffany, mind you. So it's not even like in the crown jewel situation where it's her, should she cash in on her friend or her opponent, her friend's opponent or whatever. And what I'm trying to figure out is how they would even pull that off if it happened during the match. You saw last year when Damian Priest had that fake attempt of a cash-in when Rhea Ripley came out with a briefcase as a precursor to Randy Orton's return. And we're all, at least I'm wondering, and I knew that it was going to be, trying to get the fans to think that Randy wasn't about to come out so the pop would be bigger when his music hit. But I was just trying to figure out even then, like, how would that dynamic work? Would it be a match within a match? Would had a Priest like just pinned Rollins, would that have ended the War Games match or just their own little championship match? We've seen, Seth Rollins interrupt a singles match way back in the day, almost 10 years ago, and turn a singles match into a triple threat. So there's that little nugget on how the Money in the Bank can work. But we've never seen the Money in the Bank involved in a group match where there are champions involved. And especially because these are two people who are on Tiffany's own team. How would that dynamic work? Maybe it would be more logical to try a cash-in or at least a fake cash-in after the match. But I see Rhea's team winning because especially with Rhea joining the fray, sort of unofficially leading this team, I don't see the heels pulling this one off. I think there's a lot of tension within the heels, especially between Tiffany and Nia. So I think Rhea's gonna Rhea and Bianca are gonna lead their team to victory. Io's gonna do something crazy, and maybe there'll be a little tease tension between Bianca and Bayley. Maybe Bayley does something for saves Bianca from takes a bullet for her or something. Not unlike Randy Orton and Jey Uso last year, where you thought something might have come to blows with them, but it was only just teased and everything worked out for them. So I think it's going to work out for the baby's faces and for the women this year again.
Actually, very good points, Partham. The fact that both champions are on one team with the Money in the Bank briefcase holder, that briefcase is going to find its way into the cage. And it almost makes me want us to be able to answer that question tonight. What would happen if she cashed in mid-match? Because, like, imagine she goes to do it and everyone's going nuts because it looks like she's going to pin Nia because Nia's down. And then she just, like, turns around and hits Liv with the briefcase or something. There's so many, like, endless possibilities you could do with that.
She can cash in, and Rhea could pin one of the champions. Because if the precedent is set with the Seth Rollins match, then it turned into a triple threat. Does that
You
kind
think
of,
anybody could pin at any time?
well, I don't know. There's no precedent.
If that's the case, then you shouldn't be cashing in.
Yeah, there's no precedent.
I mean,
I
like,
think after is the more logical thing that Partham had said.
Yeah, also if like everyone is down somehow, I could see it then. But my prediction in terms of who's winning, there's just way too many like super faces on one team for WWE to have them lose here. I agree with Ernie. I think EO is going to try and do some crazy shit. We always love to see that. But okay, we're all on the faces except for McAdoo, it looks like. Moving on, though, a relative of a guy I mentioned earlier, Scott Steiner, is defending his Intercontinental Championship in a triple threat match versus Sheamus and Ludwig Kaiser. This should be, dare I say, a banger. But let's go around the horn. Partham, who you got and why?
Braun Breaker is going to hold on to this Intercontinental Championship, this particular reign, for quite a while. I think this is leading to a Sheamus win, just not here. It's not quite the time. Ludwig Kaiser is basically there to take the pin. We had a Braun Breaker and Sheamus one-on-one match on Raw a couple of weeks ago that Ludwig Kaiser interfered with. That was just a teaser for what's to come way down the line. I think Sheamus is in line to get an IC title match against Braun Breaker at WrestleMania. That's where I would do it. That's where I would have Sheamus's last championship that he hasn't won. That's where I'd give him the win. But all this is basically just precursors and teases. So for the time being, you have to keep the title on Braun Breaker.
Yeah, I have to agree. I just don't see him putting the title on Sheamus yet. I don't see him going to Ludwig yet, or if he's even capable of that in the near future. So I think you just have to keep it with Braun Breaker.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. If there's anyone who's winning that IC title at Mania, it should be the man, the myth, the legend, John Cena.
Wait. Would that count as a 17th championship? Because I don't think it works.
No, that's not a world
title.
title. That's not a word.
Exactly.
But
So
it would
why would
make
you go
him a
after
Grand
that?
Slam.
Grand Slam.
And,
Yeah.
it'd make him a Grand Slam champion. But I still think Braun's going to win. I want it to be Sheamus just so he could get that accolade. But it doesn't make sense. Braun's going to take this. It'll be an easy dub, I think. I think you're right. Ludwig's going to eat the pin. But I do think Sheamus could potentially win it somewhere down the line, maybe after Mania.
Yeah, I mean, I also think they're really pushing Braun on the moon. So, when he's going to drop the Intercontinental title when it's time for him to chase the world title, kind of like in 2004 when Cena, or 2005 when Cena only dropped the U.S. title to pursue the world title against JBL. So, I don't think he's dropping it anytime soon. I think this will be a fantastic match. I can see this being kind of like a breakout performance for Kaiser. Maybe eventually, Gunther goes on his own. Maybe they feud. But I think that Braun Breaker wins this match.
All right, general consensus, Braun. I'm going to go with him as well. I do think this could lead to Sheamus getting there, given that he's still in this picture. And Ludwig is kind of last minute. Kind of a interestingly put together match, but I know they've been doing a little bit with the story. But moving on, another mid-card title that we got on the line being defended, not in a triple threat match this time, but the United States champion LA Knight.
Yeah.
is going against Shinsuke Nakamura, which is also kind of a little random if you ask me, but Shinsuke seems to be put in these positions a lot, even during the Triple H era. And as a heel now, it is interesting. The LA Knight babyface train never really stops, kind of like this one. So I'm going to go around the horn to Ernie first. Who you got?
I'm picking LA Knight. What's wild is the betting favorite right now slightly is Nakamura. He's he's minus 100 or maybe he's minus 120 and he's minus 100 and LA Knight's plus 120, which is kind of crazy. I didn't think it would be that. No, sorry, Nakamura's minus 140, Knight's plus 100. I apologize. Either way, I'm surprised that Nakamura's a slight favorite in this, but I'm still going to go with LA Knight.
But I'm sorry if you could hear this noise behind me here. They're just doing something to the beach.
Yeah,
a little bit. I'm sorry about that. But I deep down in my heart am praying that Shinsuke wins this, because Shinsuke is one of my favorite wrestlers ever since his debut at Black and Gold against Sami Zayn. I arguably say that's one of the best wrestling matches of all time. And I fell in love with Shinsuke. I mean, it got me to watch New Japan. That'll tell you something, how much I love Shinsuke. So I think he needs this. I think the heat he would get for pinning LA Knight would be incredible. I think LA Knight doesn't really lose too much speed by taking this loss, and he could just come back and win it back. It brings both of their credibility up, I think. So I'm going to go with Shinsuke. I didn't make that clear. I'm going to go with Shinsuke. I mean, if I were to put my money on it, I'd say LA Knight, but I'm a Shinsuke stan.
He's going as hard as over his head.
What?
You're going with your heart over your head. You never heard that before?
Yes, yeah. No, I just didn't hear you. Yeah, I'm gonna mute myself.
I keep going back and forth on this. I want to see LA. Part of me wants to see LA Knight take the loss so that it can help his build towards the world title. But the other part of me said back at Money in the Bank, if he didn't win that, he's never win the world title. And I'm just going to be a firm believer in that. And I'm going to say LA Knight hold on to the United States title and will pin Shinsuke Nakamura tonight.
Yeah, since Shinsuke's return, they've booked him pretty strong, like beating down LA Knight on a couple of occasions and sending his ominous, pre-tape promos, which is a lot better than, having to try and understand him, talk English. You just translate him in his natural language. It's a lot better. It works a lot better. But he's only come back in the last 3 weeks or so. For him to just come right back strong, mind you, but to just put the title right on him without too much build, it doesn't make any sense to me, especially with LA Knight being so popular that he is, having a strong title run. I think you might build Shinsuke up to take that title somewhere down the road or win the title somewhere down the road, but I think it's a little bit too soon to hotshot someone coming right back, dominate LA Knight, and then just pin him and win the title. I think we have to continue LA Knight's title reign. Yeah.
I agree. Not too much else I think I can say. Like you said, Partham seems with no run up at all. I don't think they'd put the title on Shinsuke unless they're going to take us through a trilogy, which I really personally hope they don't do. But general consensus again seems to be LA Knight. Yeah. And one more title on the line before we get to the more war games. And that title is the World Heavyweight Championship. Gunther looking to defend against Damian Priest. Here we are still with these two. Partham, why don't you kick us off?
Well, it's been interesting to see Gunther's character development where he's looking not nearly as confident as they used to. And ever since he won that title off of Damian Priest at SummerSlam, facing guys like Sami Zayn, who was the last guy to beat him at WrestleMania, it seems like they're definitely taking Gunther's character in a different direction. I don't know if that continues after this particular match, but the one X factor that I see happening here is you see those Judgment Day, clubhouse meetings, and Gunther being a champion, or Damian Priest going after the championship, is definitely getting a mention there. I think Finn Balor has not forgotten his grudge with Damian Priest. And whether it's multiple members of the Judgment Day or just Finn Balor himself, again, in a reflection of what happened at SummerSlam to begin with, I think you can expect to see Judgment Day shenanigans in this particular matchup. And I think Gunther is going to pull out a victory and possibly regain his confidence back, more or less. But Gunther retains the title.
Quick pick, Gunther. What else can you say?
Same here, Gunther.
I love Damian Priest. I don't think he has much of a chance there, so Gunther.
All right. Wow, that was quick. World Heavyweight Championship. I'm excited for this match, but yeah, I'm kind of leaning Gunther as well. I could maybe see them like doing the Priest back and forth, but the way that Gunther's been going against everyone else, I just don't think it's happening. So I think the ring general.
To spice it up a little bit, like in what scenario do you see Damian winning at all?
Just if they wanted to keep him around and extend the story, but I don't think that's the smart decision. I don't think they're going to do that, nor do people want to see that. That's just the only possible way. But if we're all on the same page and consensus with the WWE, then Gunther shall retain. Should we get into some war games, gentlemen?
Yes.
Cue the Black Sabbath. OG Bloodline and CM Punk. Never thought I would say that. That's crazy. Versus the Bloodline and Bronson Reed. Obviously, Bloodline, Solo Sikoa, Tamatanga Tangaloa, and Jacob Fatu versus the OG Bloodline. Kind of, dare I say, for the Ila Fala. Here we have. So this is going to be absolutely crazy. Spot Fest. Going to be a lot of huge moments in this that I'm sure some people will touch on possibilities. But Ernie, let's start with you. What do you think is going to happen? What are the big moments in this match, and who takes the victory?
So everybody's kind of trying to everyone's assuming that the OG Bloodline team is going to be the team that somebody turns on somebody. Paul's going to turn on Roman. CM Punk's going to turn on Roman. Sammy's going to turn on a Bloodline because Jay said he's not a family member. There's just so many possibilities of the OG Bloodline turning. That's why I think it's going to be the Solo Bloodline with the turn. My prediction is that the OG Bloodline wins with some sort of minor like miscommunication, maybe between Jacob and Solo. They win the match, and my prediction, which I shared before in private, is this. The OG Bloodline clear the ring. Everything's gone. There's a little argument in the ring with Solo and Jacob. The Rock's music hits. The Rock locks the cage. All of the Bloodline beat on Solo. And the pay-per-view or PLE ends, I'm sorry, with the OG Bloodline frantically trying to get back in the cage while Solo's getting the heck beat out of him because the cage is locked, and the OG and the Jacob and all those guys are beating the hell out of Solo.
Fantasy booking wise, absolutely incredible. I want to see it. I want to see that happen so bad. I am really torn on this match because, it's just hard to choose who makes the most sense when it comes to who should win. On one hand, you have the OG Bloodline who had recently lost a match, and now we have the new Bloodline. Now, if The Rock is involved in any way, shape, or form, actually, I just thought about this in my head, and I also think The Rock could get involved either or. I was going to say I don't think The Rock gets involved unless the new Bloodline loses. But I also think that if the OG Bloodline loses as well, he could get involved. So it's a really hard match to call. I'm just going to say, for the sake of the matter, they're trying to push Solo. I think the new Bloodline comes out on top here. Maybe if we do get a Rock thing, it's to congratulate him. I really hope it's what Ernie says. I just don't think that that's what it's going to be. So, yeah, I'm going to go with the new Bloodline. And spot I want to see, Bronson Reed hitting a freaking tsunami off the top of the cage. Please, please, please make that happen.
Dude, I feel sorry already for whoever's taking that. McAdoo,
I can see him missing. That'd be awesome. I can see him missing it, though, for sure.
Then I feel sorry for him, too. So
Jumping off the cage through a table.
Yeah, that would be good. I mean, maybe 2 tables. Holy shit, it's a lot to catch.
Yeah. All right. If you followed me what I said earlier, you know who I'm picking. It's obviously the OG Bloodline with Roman Reigns. How can you not? I don't think that they're going to just let him take the loss to Solo. he's going to take back the, how do you pronounce it? The
Ulafala.
which apparently you can buy on Etsy. I think Strick bought one not too long ago.
Maybe.
Look.
No spoilers. No spoilers.
But I mean, maybe we all should get one for the Ulafala. I'll be the head of the table, right, Partham?
You can be the
Now,
head of
now,
some
gents.
other people's table. I'm the head of this table. But there's a lot of red flags going into this match that you could jump on with the OG Bloodline. You can jump on Sami Zayn not once, but twice faking out him joining Solo's Bloodline. Once would have been enough, but twice was kind of curious, at least for me. And especially before that, Sammy's private meeting with Solo out in the parking lot that Jimmy and Jay were looking at, and Sammy never really addressed that afterwards, I don't think. Not to mention, of course, Paul Heyman coming out in a very Solo-like. Solo wasn't wearing that black over red suit at that time, but we've seen him wear that before, and Paul Heyman was sort of echoing that sort of style there. And sharp-eyed people that saw him, as Punk had come out and was interacting with the Bloodline, and Paul, I think, was sort of winking at Jimmy or something like that. And Jimmy's, at Raw saying, yeah, we can trust the wise man. I think the only two people in this match, or the only three people in this match that don't have some sort of weird thing going on that we've seen, like Sammy shifting his cell phone as they're watching the OG Bloodline backstage or whatever, and other things that we've seen, are Roman Reigns, Jey Uso, and CM Punk. Because CM Punk made it very clear he's not here to help the OG Bloodline. He's here to stand up for Paul Heyman, who, got, as Paul reminded us, got put through a table in Madison Square Garden. And this idea that Paul would turn on the OG Bloodline, what? Because Roman Reigns wasn't returning his texts? Roman Reigns is his tribal chief. He is at the beck and call of his tribal chief. It shouldn't matter to Paul. Roman Reigns fired Paul Heyman, for crying out loud, because he couldn't decide his loyalties between him and Brock Lesnar. And we're going to think that Paul Heyman's going to turn on Roman Reigns, whose family he has served for so long and helped for so long. As much as all these Easter eggs and red flags and foreshadowings, all this is happening, I think Punk's introduction is creating enough tension and dynamic here that I don't see Paul Heyman or anybody else turning on the OG Bloodline. I think there is enough tension there to tell a story, and not to mention the real story going forward for Roman Reigns is going to be, now that he's beaten Solo's Bloodline, and Solo already had a win over Roman's Bloodline because it was essentially a 4-on-3 situation at Crown Jewel, but now that both Bloodlines are in full force and they have a hired gun essentially on each side, now that Roman can get his victory over Solo's Bloodline, now he can call out Solo for the match that he's wanted, which is one-on-one for the Ulafala, probably at Saturday night's main event. So I'm going to go with the OG Bloodline. And sure, The Rock can show up. The Rock just finished filming for Moana, so it can be not unlike Bad Blood, where he shows up at the very end and gives some kind of some sort of hand signal, or maybe he gets involved and chooses sides, essentially. But for the time being, despite all the signs of, the curious things that have been going on with the OG Bloodline, I'm going to go with the OG Bloodline.
There is a lot of possibilities that go into this match. I couldn't tell you what's going to happen during the match. I do think we get another Punk Roman stare down. They're just going to allude to that. Triple H has done a really good job of setting up these moments that don't really matter at the time, but you can tell they will come back up in a story very much later on. That was just written all over the wall with that one. I think there's a chance at the end we could get a Rock and Punk stare down, maybe all three, where they're like the Spider-Man meme. They're all looking at each other like, why the hell are we all in a ring together? This is random. But this is tough, and I actually didn't know who I was going to pick until I just started talking. But I think I am going to go with the OG Bloodline, and they are going to continue to fight after the match. And Paul Heyman, he's not going to turn on Roman, but Roman is going to keep trying to kick Solo's ass, and Paul Heyman's going to be like, no, chill. Roman's going to be like, why the hell? Why are you telling me to chill? And then bam, we get The Rock, and it looks like he's coming out to confront the fact that it's Heyman and why is they got to stop the fight. But then Rock just gives like a rock bottom to Roman. All hell breaks loose. Rock is out of there. Everyone's fighting, and everyone is left speechless by the end of the night. Talk about fantasy booking. Like, that is it. And that's some very slick fantasy booking, if you know me. But this match should be incredible. Really looking forward to it. How about Survivor Series on a Saturday, man, before Sunday Night Football? Bills hosting the 49ers. Any last thoughts, shout outs on the show, boys, or early predictions?
Go Bills.
Yes, sir. Go Bills.
Yeah,
Friday
I
Night
just
SmackDown.
want to, since we had a cigar in here, I just want to pay tribute to the two cigar, Armando Alejandro Estrada, the manager of Umaga, and Old School, a guy who was replaced at the last minute in 1991, who was managed by Harvey Whipple. But you can Google him, Big Bully Busick, who used to come in the ring with a cigar, and he would and their kids would have balloons, obviously plants, and he would pop the kids' balloons with the cigar. It was awesome with a slit cigar. It was pretty sweet. But he was like the mid card of all mid cards, but two cigar references. And shameless plug, yes, Monte Cristo are the best cigars on the planet.
Well, since we're mentioning football, I just want to say that I hope WWE's scriptwriters are doing a lot better job than the NFL scriptwriters with the Chiefs season, because I don't know who's writing this bullshit.
Who the fuck wrote this bullshit?
Well,
How many more horseshoes can the Chiefs pull out of their asses? I mean, come on.
When Steve Austin thinks it's bullshit, it's probably bullshit, because that's the bottom line, and he said so. Real quick, boys, any predictions for SmackDown tonight?
I think,
to be honest, I think it's a skippable episode, right?
Yeah, I was thinking the same kind of.
I think the Solos Bloodline is going to win the advantage. Not necessarily clean, because I think Jacob Fatu will win over Jey Uso, but there's going to be, of course, shenanigans involved, because it's always Bloodline shenanigans, one way or the other.
Give me a CM Punk and Jacob Fatu stare down also during that match at some point. That would be awesome.
That works for my promotion.
Oh yeah, true. If you're with what's the promotion again?
Pipe Bomb Wrestling, I think so.
Pipe Bomb Wrestling. If you're tuning into Pipe Bomb Wrestling, you're gonna see two of their superstars in that War Games match. But until then, the War Games are tomorrow. But until then, we are not wrestling with our budget, and we are not wrestling with our conscience. We are wrestling with emotion.
Yeah.
Good night now. Bring the boom.